Hello to my lovely faefolk! Today I'm cosplaying one of my favorite background ponies, Fleur de Lis. Fleur de Lis has long been a mystery to the world of My Little Pony. She was barely even in the show, the movies, or even in the toys produced. However, she was able to become a fan favorite with mere moments of screen time. So with that, everypony, let's dive in to the lore and life of one of the most gorgeous ponies in all of My Little Pony, Fleur de Lis. So Fleur has a rare body type in the My Little Pony universe, normally referred to as the alicorn body type. It's no surprise that from this fact, Fleur is actually a supermodel. Her coat is white and her mane and tail are a sweet faded pink. She has eyes the color of lavender. Now more insight was given by a layout artist working on My Little Pony about why Fleur has that alicorn body type. Basically, they revealed that her body type is just a altered version of Princess Luna's. And as we know, the concept that they were going for with Fleur was that she was a supermodel. But Rid Sorensen, a director of My Little Pony, actually made a comment on the topic. In the script for the episode Sweet and Elite, she was described as a, quote, lovely unicorn. So basically they wanted to give her a special build, one that's more unique and doesn't look like the standard pony. However, he did state that it was unsure if they were going to use Luna's build in the design stage. But with that, let's get on to Fleur's show appearances. We first meet Fleur in Season 2, Episode 9, Sweet and Elite. Quite a fitting name, I might add, for the debut episode of this elegant unicorn. She's seen with Fancy Pants, another high-status pony. Rarity's carrying many bags, as well as her cat, Opalescence, and she actually bumps into Fancy Pants. Fleur cleans Fancy Pants up and helps gather up Rarity's bags. She says to Rarity, a pony with expensive tastes, I see. Now this next scene is especially iconic, because as Rarity is talking to Fancy Pants, Fleur is leaning on him, just striking all these different poses. We love her. She's such an icon. And she's actually so caught up in her posing that when Fancy Pants walks off, she doesn't even realize at first, but when she does, she rushes after him. She appears again in this episode when Rarity is singing Becoming Popular. Fleur is seen in a checkerboard square of the canterlot ponies. Now I know a lot of you are probably wanting me to go ahead and address the Fleur is Fancy Pants' secret bodyguard, and I will, but let's go through the rest of her appearances first. In Season 4, Episode 8, Rarity Takes Manhattan, Fleur is once again seen with Fancy Pants while Rarity sings Generosity. She's also in attendance of the fashion show as well. Now also in Season 4, this time Episode 24, called Equestria Games, Fleur is seen in Season 5, Episode 12, Amending Fences. Fleur is once again seen with Fancy Pants. Then in Season 5, Episode 14, Canterlot Boutique, she's seen in attendance of the boutique's grand opening. She also orders one of Rarity's popular princess dresses. Also in this particular episode, I don't know if you guys remember Sassy Saddles, but she made me so angry as a child. Like, oh my gosh, the way that I was so upset at her for Rarity, unmatched. The way she literally tried to steamroll Rarity and take over every aspect of her business. Now luckily, at the end of the episode, Sassy did realize this, but I held a grudge over her for so long. Honestly, I remember ranting about her all the time whenever I talk about, her character or her episodes. Now her last Season 5 appearance takes place in Episode 18, Crusaders of the Lost Mark. Fleur and Fancy Pants just walk by Diamond Tiara and her mother Spoiled Rich. Jumping to Season 7, Episode 6, Forever Philly, Fleur is seen once again outside Canterlot Boutique with Fancy Pants. Then in Season 7, Episode 18, A Royal Problem, Fleur is seen watching Luna's carriage go by, which this appearance ties into when we see Fleur in Season 8, Episode 7, called Horseplay, where Fleur is sitting in between Fancy Pants and Luna. I'm in desperate need of Luna and Fleur content, guys, please. I really wish we got an episode or a comic based off them. I know they could at least do the comic because they recently released, just this year, a comic about Cadence's backstory, which I actually did a video on, so if you want to hear all about Cadence's confirmed backstory after so many years, be sure to check out that video after this one. Then in Season 9, Episode 6, Common Ground, she's seen enjoying Buckball. In Season 9, Episode 13, Between Dark and Dawn, Fluttershy assigns Fleur to take care of the ponies who are waiting to get into Canterlot Castle. Finally, in Season 9, Episode 25, The Ending of the End Part 2, Fleur and Fancy Pants take shelter with other unicorns in the School for Gifted Unicorns, while Canterlot closes itself off to the earth ponies, and pegasi. Now, while that may be all of her appearances for the main show, she's also seen in the Equestria Girls series in the movie Friendship Games as a student of Crystal Prep Academy. In the halls of the academy, she walks by Sci-Twi, the human version of Twilight. Then during the song What More Is Out There, she closes a window blind of the window that Twilight is looking at while singing. The rest of Fleur's appearances during Friendship Games are basically just as a spectator of the Friendship Games. Although when Canterlot High School is having a welcome party for the Crystal Prep students, she's seen giving a cupcake to Sandalwood. Finally, when Sci-Twi turns into Midnight Sparkle, Rarity, Fleur, and some of the other students almost fall into one of the portals that she's created. But Lemon Zest and Indigo Zap help her. For some of you who may not know, My Little Pony actually has a mobile game as well developed by GameLaw, which don't worry, I will definitely be doing a deeper dive into this game specifically. But for the purpose of this video, we will just focus on Fleur. Now in the game, her name is actually Fleur Disley because of copyright issues from what I could find. Her description for this game reads, a unicorn supermodel who is always booked for a photo shoot. Her cutie mark is Fleur de Lis, which is where her name comes from. There was also originally a mistake to Fleur in the game, as she was originally shown to be an alicorn, but after the Sweet Apple Acres update, they updated her to be her original unicorn form. Now finally, onto the lore that you've all been waiting for. The Fleur is actually Fancy Pants' secret bodyguard. Now at first, I thought this was canon because the comic that it stems from looks incredibly close to the art style and form of the other IDW official comics, which the IDW comics are the official comics for My Little Pony. But it's actually a fan-created comic. So the official My Little Pony comics, show, etc. don't actually confirm that this is Fleur's real backstory, but personally I and many others love this backstory for Fleur and take it to be true. But I do want to reiterate how impressive the art style and everything is of this comic. It looks so close to the original official IDW comics that I was honestly fooled for a while. The title of the comic that this came from is called The Secret Life of Fleur Disley. They also use her Fleur Disley name instead of Fleur de Lis. While there isn't much that I could find on the creator of this comic, it looks to be put out by the user Lovely Neckbeard on DeviantArt. However, the account doesn't seem to have the comic up, so I had to find the comic to read through a re-upload. Now, I did a lot of research and digging trying to find out more about the background of this comic and how it came to be, but sadly, I could barely find anything aside from what I've already stated. But with that, let's get into the details about what happens in this comic. The comic opens with Fleur and Fancy Pants strutting into this high society party. Fleur has some inner dialogue about how living among the elites of Canterlot is not easy, even with all the benefits that come with it. Even so, there's a price you have to pay. Starting right off, there are two ponies that will also sometimes appear in the main series named Jet Set and Upper Crust. And my goodness, they definitely have the thickest Canterlot accents I've ever heard. Fleur wastes no time showing her annoyance for Fleur spouting, ugh, it's that slim pony always clinging onto Fancy Pants. And Jet Set joins right along with her, saying how all Fleur wants from Fancy Pants is money. And yeah, that's literally how they talk in the show. Their voices haunt my dreams. But they're so fun to do, I'm not gonna lie. They're like, the inflection of their voices is just insane. They're all like, well, please excuse my interruption, and don't make me laugh. But anyways, through flashback, Fleur answers the question of why she's still in this position even with all the drawbacks. We get a flashback and it's revealed that Fleur was actually a royal guard, which I think is also so cool and such a cool twist on her character. There's also a scene of her absolutely obliterating a changeling. Then we get a scene of how she met Fancy Pants. So Fancy Pants just wanders into this alleyway, not paying attention, and Fleur says he was quickly but not surprisingly ambushed by a group of thugs. She's so real for that, we love Fleur. Before they could harm Fancy Pants though, she jumps in to protect him, but she does end up getting quite a beating. She is, however, able to save Fancy Pants though and arrest the thugs. Fancy Pants then offers to treat Fleur's injuries and even offers her the job of becoming his bodyguard. And Fleur saw how clumsy Fancy Pants was by himself, so she agreed to it. I absolutely adore this dynamic of Fancy Pants literally being this himbo and then Fleur being his bodyguard. It's too perfect. It's such a nice aversion to the original plot in the show where it's assume that they're just like a couple. Personally, I like to view it as they're just kind of playing the role of a couple or like a pretend relationship, you know, to add to the whole secret agent aspect of Fleur's operation. But that's just me. Let me know if you think that they are actually a couple or if you like them better, like in the comic where she's just his bodyguard. We're back to the ball now, and Fancy Pants is given a drink from one of the staff. However, Fleur notices that it's been enchanted by some sort of magic. Fleur gives Fancy Pants the sweetest and cutest puppy dog eyes and says, "Honey, don't you think you've already had too much tonight?" Now, Fancy Pants is a bit confused at first, as he would be, but eventually he realizes what's going on and agrees with Fleur. Now, in the comic, the don't is in quotations, which I like, because it makes it clear that Fleur is emphasizing the don't so that Fancy Pants will get the hint. Fleur then goes off to follow the staff that gave Fancy Pants that drink. She just uses the excuse that she has to go to the restroom. After she leaves though, Luna shows up in the cutest dress ever. I really wish we saw Luna in more outfits like this because she's just so precious. She then wanders over to Fancy Pants and calls him Fancy Pony, which is just adorable. Luna asks if he's having fun, and Fancy Pants stutters that he is. But then Luna goes on to drink the enchanted drink, and after she does, she gets a little loopy. Loopy Luna! We cut back to Fleur and she's wondering about the castle. We end up seeing the glowing eye of a changeling. We cut back to seeing Luna escorted by some of her guards to go back to the castle. Back to Fleur, she shouts out for the culprit to stop hiding and to come out. They do, and the changeling, the same one from the beginning of the comic, is taking the form of Fleur as an alicorn. Now, quick note on this edition, I do believe that the reason that they made the changeling be a alicorn version of Fleur is because if you remember in the Game Loft game, that glitch that we discussed earlier, I believe that that's why they made this little Easter egg present here. It was like a changeling just tried to replace Fleur in the Game Loft game, but they accidentally added wings. Fleur asks why the changeling is doing this, and they say that, well, they don't think that they could control a princess, they do think that they could control Fancy Pants. They both get into a fight, and they're both keeping up with each other on about the same level, until the changeling starts to fly. The changeling lets out a blast of magic that hurts Fleur. They start taunting Fleur and telling her how they're going to take over her life and Fancy Pants. Fleur then brings up the very obvious flaw in this plan that the changeling literally has wings. Now, I guess the changeling could just, remove the wings from their design, so that would fix that, but Fleur then flings the changeling by the wings with her magic. The changeling then lays defeated on the floor, and Celestia randomly shows up as she likes to do. She says that when Luna returned to the castle, the guards told her that they suspected that she could have been poisoned. So Celestia came to investigate, but praises Fleur for already having the job done. She fixes Fleur up from the fight with a bit of magic, and then she opens a portal and leaves with the changeling. We end on a panel of Fleur looking as stunning as always, and she says she's glad everything is back to normal, as it is planned. She is so cool, you literally just cannot deny it at all. I would absolutely love a spin-off show or comic series of Fleur's adventures being an ex-royal guard and Fancy Pants' bodyguard. And once again, big shout out to the whole story, art, writing, everything for this comic. Now we just have the merch of Fleur to cover, even if it isn't a lot. As for official merch, we have Fleur as one of those blind bag ponies. She came out in Wave 24 and uses the Twilight Sparkle version 3 mold. However, I would have loved for them to simply modify one of the princess molds, like one of the Alicorn princesses molds, to just fit her, because they've done that before, they've modified some of the other ponies molds or even made completely new molds just for a single pony. So I definitely think she deserved better treatment than this. She just does not look like herself here. There's also a blind bag plush of Fleur made by the Chinese company Risi. She's absolutely adorable. I love her so much. This is definitely my favorite piece of Fleur merch. Finally, we have a fan-designed We Love Fine art print of young Fleur. Now, I do believe that We Love Fine art is considered official merch, but let me know if I'm wrong. The art print was by Carol Polinsky, and it shows Fleur as a teenager having freckles, braces, and her mane in a ponytail. Well, I think I covered everything regarding this gorgeous background pony. If I missed anything, don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. Let me know what you think of Fleur and her lore. Thank you so much for watching, and if you would also like to become a part of the faefolk, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And always remember, I lovely you every pony.
I say, I'm Jet Set, and this is my wife, Upper Crust. We saw you from across the cafe. I just had to find out. Where did you get that simply marvelous chapeau? You're from Ponyville.